The Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Markwart.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast. I'm Chris Markwart. Brian Tompkins joining us in studio on deck, episode number 272. I'd like to welcome all you folks who are tuning in and watching at home. We appreciate your continued support. Didn't take long. Got the cough drops out, huh?
It's getting better. Now it's turned into a allergy fight. I actually feel well. It's just I get coughing every now and then. And I thought I was going to die at work yesterday, which has been really good because, you know, if I die at work, I get a nice chunk of insurance money. But I made it through it, so I just wanted to.
Have you ever considered faking your own death at work?
No, they'd probably get grumpy with that whole insurance fraud thing at a county in a jail. Probably, you know. So I'm trying to be proactive.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? But how was your weekend, Chris Markley?
It was good. Got to hang out with the puppy a little bit this weekend. It was obviously the weather wasn't exactly conducive to any of the racing plans that we had.
No.
And a side note, Kenny Tremont won at Lebanon Valley.
Hard to believe.
Yep. You got that. Andy Bicchetti won the 358s out there, too.
Turned under $9,000 right around what used to be a cushion.
Yeah. Matt Shepard won at Fonda, so that was cool. Basically, everything east of Utica was able to race this weekend, but nothing at home got in. But it is what it is. We'll try again next weekend.
We will. Did
you do anything fun this weekend?
I worked all weekend. That's
what you always do.
Usually. Hey, every 7 weeks I get a weekend off. I mean, what could a guy ask for more? So, are we going to address the big white elephant in the room that is Spring X, or are you going to wait?
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to not at least recognize it.
The thing that bothers me the most out of all of it is that everybody is jumping down the new promoter's throat. Now, here's my thing. I've never met him. I wouldn't, not to be a dick, but I wouldn't, if he walked in the room, I wouldn't know him. We've just never haven't crossed as Derby, goers. But to just straight out, make it sound like, this is what the guy wanted and the guy's happy with how it turned out. It's pretty ignorant talk. I mean, obviously he invested a lot of his own money into taking over Derby Icons, into promoting Spring X and Mayhem and his other shows. From what I've read, was there mistakes made? Yes, but there was also terrible weather, which there always seems to be at Spring X. Things didn't go as planned, but it just and I don't know if I'm more. I notice it more because of being involved with the Derby or what, but it just seems like that when there's a little bit of blood in the water, everybody comes in and takes a bite, and it's too bad. I mean, obviously, I'm sure, he's saying, "Hey, I wish I would have done this different. I wish I would have done that different." Goes without saying. He had a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of everything invested in this. This basically is probably the last thing in the world he wanted it to do, wanted it to go. You know what I mean? Instead of somebody saying, hey, that sucks, let's regroup, let's learn, people just, hundreds of messages just bashing the guy. And it's frustrating as a Derby fan. I mean, we've got to know a lot of the promoters, and we know what goes on backstage, and we know how things are. And, most people don't understand the pressures that are on promoters. I feel bad for all the teams that were there. I feel bad for all the drivers that were there. I feel bad for the promoter, his family. I know on one board, his daughter actually got on and responded. I feel bad for the fans in the stands. Going forward, I read just a little bit of one of his comments that said he's going to make some changes in some certain classes going forward. But, to blame the promoter and think that he's happy with how things turned out, I think that's not a very intelligent stance to take. Again, that's the last thing he wanted to happen. To blame the promoter for on-track action is also very hard because we've touched on it. A lot of big derbies, you see a slow pace. And, we've seen from both sides. Like I said 100 times, I love watching, a feature the last 5 minutes. Doesn't get any better than that. But I also think it's cool to sit back and watch, two great drivers battle, taking precision shots. Mm-hmm. They blamed it on the car builds. Well, you and I have been to a derby, and I'm not going to mention where cars, I believe, were kicker cars, and they played bumper tag for hours, literally.
Green flag came out, and half the field never came off the line.
Yeah. So, is there a happy medium? I don't know. If somebody asked me, hey, what would you do to combat, the heavy sandbagging? First thing I'd do is cut the fuel tank size. Well, everybody's got a 5-gallon tank, period. Then what would you do next? Start, if it goes over 30 minutes, we start taking money away from the winner and giving it to the Mad Dog. That's just a couple ideas I've heard and liked. But it's hard to do. If as a promoter, if you go out and break one guy's stick, then that guy's going to be pissed, and his fans are going to be pissed, and his friends are going to be pissed. So does that mean you lose all those people coming back to your next show? It's tough. This isn't the first show we've seen it at. We've seen Metal Mayhem. Their features have been very long, so it's tough. I feel terrible for the new promoter. I hope going forward things straighten out for him, and I think things improve. But
in terms of the long features, you can't just stick to the Derby Icons realm.
No.
Tory got out of it after 2018, and Jack Fissler, who was the guy that last I knew was the owner of Derby Icons, and I didn't find out anything about Spring Explosion until Sunday night when I messaged Steve Bucknam to find out who won. Mm-hmm. And I learned a little bit about the situation. So the curfew was 10:30 Saturday night. They ran until 1:30. There were still 6 teams running, and they had to cancel the Icons feature, is my understanding of things. I did not reach out to anybody on it because there is no – we tried that once, and it did not go the way we thought it was going to go. So to stay out of it with no input from anybody, I don't know what the right move to make is. But obviously we can't go on an hour-long show about Demolition Derby and overlook that. I was talking with Josh Decker earlier today about the situation, and social media as a general rule, if you have a password and a login, all of a sudden your opinion matters, unsolicited or otherwise. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of that's going on. I just hope that, let's say, when Metal Mayhem comes around or whatever other show where we see the pace reduced, that everybody that has an opinion now, if there's a good show, they're just as quick to compliment and share instead of dogpiling. And as much as social media is brutal, it seems like the Demolition Derby community is equally nasty.
Oh yeah.
So there's a bunch of different things that you can come and go on. The sport itself inherently was founded on the destruction of cars for the entertainment of the masses. Somebody figured out that all the car accidents was the best part about races, so let's just have one organized car accident.
Yes.
And to oversimplify it, that is basically how the sport got started. So oftentimes we've heard drivers say that they don't want the officials to tell them how to run the pace. Mm-hmm. Well, at this point now, we've come a little bit to the point where we reap what we sow. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that everybody's going to take a long, hard look at this because this is, I think, the second or third Derby that we've had in 2019 where something like this had happened or was about to happen. There was some I can't remember which show it was, but they ended up calling it, leaving the cars basically where they were and starting again the following morning. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that luxury wasn't there for this one because they didn't have the grounds rented the following day. Yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't...
It wasn't. But I mean, we've been through the extremes. I mean,
Wasn't a great thing, but there's more than just one person at fault here, I think.
yes, absolutely. And I think that's, like you said, social media is a great thing until everybody becomes an expert, And again, I understand people being upset, but I mean, after a while, it just gets old and it just doesn't look good. I don't know. Like I said, going forward, I hope things clear up for him. I hope things go better. The last thing I'd want to see is a great event like Spring Explosion go by the wayside.
Right.
That'd be a terrible thing to see. And thankfully Jack stepped up and purchased Icons, so there was still great shows on the schedule. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if promoters get together and talk, which we've mentioned.
Did you hear those words?
Yeah, I was gonna giggle about that myself. I don't know. It's just you're never gonna take smart driving, sandbagging, not hitting, whatever you want to call it. It's never gonna be taken out of the sport. It's just you're not. There's some things that can be done and some things that cannot be done, but like I said, going forward, I hope things improve. I just wish people would just
log off and think for a minute.
Yeah, just relax and think for a little bit. And if you still feel strongly, then type something, but not so much hate and venom. I mean, give facts and give reasons, and not just it sucks and it's this guy's fault. I don't think that really helps anything.
Facts are things. They're real things.
Yeah.
And it sure is nice when you get to work with them.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Well, we certainly do wish all the folks over at Derby Icons the best, and hopefully they can get everything righted as we move towards Metal Mayhem, which is coming up here. It's going to be here around the corner. Before we get to that, we've got the River City Rampage in Henry, Illinois. That's coming up, and then we've got King of the Ring that's going to be coming up as well through the month of May as we all look at the calendar squares. We're right on the cusp of breaking through with May, which means that we're less than 30 days away from the Bash for Cash. Nick King is joining us on the hotline to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that he's going to be active with through the course of this month. He's got some cousins getting ready for Bash for Cash, and he's got to get ready himself to go out and tech at Toast River City Rampage. Nick, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing
going on,
okay. Welcome to the show again. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with us for a little while. Pretty cool. Getting ready to go out there and tech at River City Rampage. How excited are you?
Good. I went out there last year. Toast brought me out there last year to work with him because I worked with him at the Bash, and we had a good time at the good show out there. We've got something really, really good going on up there in Henry. So I'm excited. Glad he's had me back. We've got a pretty good inspection crew, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
No Bash for Cash for you this year?
No, I'm not running or nothing. I may go watch my nephew run, but other than that,
I said cousin.
I'm trying to stay away from it a little bit. It's a long, long weekend. I did it for 5 years in a row. I worked 2 or 3 or whatever it was. It's a long, draining weekend, and sometimes I just wish I was laying on a beach that weekend instead of at a derby.
Remember that one time you tried that and almost missed the derby in Florida?
Yeah. Well, I will be laying on the beach like 2 weeks before the derby, but it's not during the derby. So
that's awesome.
So River City Rampage is going to be streamed on DerbyNation.tv. Again, Toast is overseeing that one in Henry, Illinois. You get to go back out there and tech. Obviously, you did something right if he wanted to have you back. Do you get involved at all with the on-track action as well as an official, or are you limited just to making sure that everybody's on an even playing field?
No, I get the flag also. Last year, we set it up to where we wasn't doing any inspections during the derby because whenever I feel like I know at the Bash they have a lot going on, but I feel when you work all day, and you're beat down, it's kind of good to get out there and flag. So I mean, you're actually watching the derby and flagging, so
sure.
you get to see, what's going on. It sucks whenever you're sitting back in a barn and you're, still working and a derby's going on. I know it's a job to do, but it's cool to be on the wall and kind of tell guys they got to start hitting. Like I heard you guys talking about the issues that's going on at Hot Springs, Arkansas, and then the yesterday or this weekend's event. So
right.
It's kind of good to be out there and having that official that kind of tells them, let's go. It's time to hit or be on this track. So.
Yeah, I mean, from your perspective, you were out there at River City last year. You've been to Florida. You've been working with Bash for Cash in different iterations. When you're doing the tech inspection, you can hear the cars running. It is a little bit of a tease, I would imagine, for a Derby diehard like yourself. But when you do get the chance to get up on the berm, you got the flags in your hands. What control does an official actually have in terms of pushing the pace beyond?
That's really what the head guy gives you. You know what I mean? You can go, if I put on a derby, like I put on a derby in my hometown 2 years ago or whatever it was, just a small little derby, and I told all the drivers, look, I'm the main guy in charge, but I'm sticking behind all my officials' decisions. So if they come out and break your stick because you're not hitting, then they break your stick. They have just as much power as I do, but you can go to derbies where the guy in charge is just like, let these guys derby. If we want to do that, we'll make a call to the radio and someone go out there and test it. But some guys have got the final say, and some guys don't. It's just really what power the head guy gives you.
Sure.
Like down in Florida, I was the head guy for that Florida one, and I had to make that tough call at the very end. And we was watching a video. So
right.
They instantly come up to me and said, Nick, you got final say-so in this. Here's the video. And, I had to make the final call on that. It's really what the head guy gives you, what kind of power he gives you. And that's it. I mean, they'll let you yell at them. I mean, all the officials normally let me go up and down the berm yelling like, hey, we got to go. But, actually going out there and doing something, that's completely on the head guy. There's it just, like I said, just depends on the power that you're given whenever you get on the berm.
Let's take this back a different direction for something that you've had just as much experience in terms of the tech side of things. It seems like there's two schools of thought when it comes to tech in a car. Again, building off of this whole parity thing in big shows that we've sort of been hedging around here, is you want to make sure that all the cars get on the track equally. And then there's the officials that want to make sure that all the tracks or all the rules are enforced equally. And it sounds convoluted, but you've got guys who might let something slide on this car over here because what he's done here is not it's not against the rules when you consider all of the other things that he didn't do to the car. So you let something go. Then on the other side, you've got guys that are teching the thing to the letter of the law. And every car that comes through is getting nitpicked, and there's no wiggle room, and nobody wants to work with each other. Either way, you end up with a group of drivers who are upset because, one, they were fine-tooth combed, or the other one, it's the different but equal, and they don't agree with what was or wasn't let through. So before we even get to the track, the tech officials have this difficult job of trying to decide if we're going to be to the letter of the law, black and white. What's in print is what's in print. If you didn't do it and don't like it, and then load it. Or you try and make sure that when the green flag comes out, every car that's on the track is at least as equal as possible within the guides of the rules. How difficult is that to do when you're standing there with all those people watching, all the cars that are standing there in line, all the technicians and all the personalities and stuff that go into that? Because that's got to be just as tough as it is to make the drivers push the pace.
Yeah, it is. I like to get with the drivers or the inspectors beforehand. So I'm going to Henry, Illinois on Thursday. So Toast and Skinny and Titsy and everyone will be up there Thursday, and we will literally have a few cold beers and we will discuss. Because Toast gets all the rules questions, and he will let us know, like, I've answered this way, just like we did last year. I answered it this way. This is what we're going to allow. This is what we're not going to allow here. I mean, we really, like last year, he wasn't allowed to touch a body bolt one in a car. If you did, you had to remove it. We caught one guy he literally had probably the stockest car there, but he touched every body bolt. He tried to tighten them. So he had to put 9-wire on every single body bolt. If he didn't want to do that, he had to load up. So, you know, it's kind of like we get there on Thursday. Toast lets us know, you know, like at this show, you know, this is exactly, you know, we're sticking to our guns on everything. You know, I talked to this guy, and you know, this is how we're going to do this rule. And I'm the inspector that I don't want to say I'm an asshole, but I kind of go straight to the rule. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whenever I build, I push the rules. I know exactly how it is.
Sure.
So whenever a guy comes in and he wants to say, well, you know, the rule don't state it like this. Well, the rule states it like this, and this is how it's supposed to be done. You know, you should have called. And I do that all the time whenever I run. So I kind of go with that mentality, and I think a lot of inspectors do too. You know, I've worked around a lot of shows and worked with a lot of different inspectors, and I've kind of learned from all them guys on how to, you know, approach the different approach the rules and how to keep it, you know, fair across the board, and at least try our hardest. No inspectors, you know, perfect. No one will ever be perfect.
I also don't think that there's a lot of inspectors that I've come across, and we've seen a lot of derbies in a lot of different cities, that are vindictive the way that the drivers think that they are.
No.
No. I think the more steps you have between your county fair and the derby that you're at, the more the expectation is the rules are going to be enforced to the letter as written, and it's not going to be enforced to the car intent and the pluses and minuses the way that it is at your hometown fair. We've been to dozens of county fairs in and around New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, etc., that it's the sum of all parts. What's this car got versus what they don't have under that rules umbrella? That it becomes more of a guideline than a rule. The guide of how the car was supposed to be built, and if it deviates plus and minus here and there, some of the stuff is still allowed to go through, because ultimately what this car has next to the other cars that are out there is comparable. When you get to those upper echelon shows like River City Rampage, Bash for Cash, you go to Capital City Cars and stuff like that, you don't want to see that, and the drivers are far less tolerant of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in my opinion, we've seen an inspector or two that may have been on a little bit of a power trip. I'm not going to deny that I have seen that.
I've seen it.
Unfortunately, you know, it's a bad deal. You know, and a good promoter will hear the drivers. You know, if all the drivers at one show are complaining about one guy, then you gotta kind of, you know, where there's smoke, there's got to be fire. So I mean, I have seen a inspector get reined in, but you know, yeah, for the most part, I mean, you know, most inspectors are decent to work with, and you know, I think that's one of the things that we've seen, you know, get better over the years, is that, you know, inspectors are more willing to work with drivers. They're not, you know, a good inspector doesn't take it personal, you know, when a guy pushes a rule or works in a gray area or something like that. They accept it. Hey, that's part of a show, and that's going to happen. So there's definitely give and take.
Cash for Cash, my second year working, I loaded up my best friend and sent him home. So, you know what I mean? Whenever I'm working, you know, I was like, this is how you can fix the car. And he kind of got an attitude with me. I was like, all right, man. Then afterwards, we drink beer. I was like, you know, that's how I am. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know a lot of people, you know, and a lot of people know me, but it's kind of like, you know, this is what it's going to be. And this, you know, and like last year, I think it was me and Skinny. You know, we was kind of talking underneath the car, and we had a poor Toast back there, and Toast was like, yeah, this here is what we're going to allow, you know what I mean? And then me and Skinny were like, okay, you know, we got you, and then we knew from there on out, you know, that was the first time we seen it on that car. You know, we looked at the same thing the whole day, and then and Toast was like, yeah, that right there is okay. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, we wasn't like, you know, like, oh, well, no, we think this is, you know, wrong, blah, blah. But the man spoke, we went with it.
Yeah.
You loaded up your.
But I've seen inspectors out there like, well, come here, you know, I think this is wrong. Well, you're not the head guy.
You loaded up. You said you loaded up your best friend.
Yeah, I did.
Did you help him build on that car before it got to Bash for Cash? No.
No. My friends hate me for it, but like whenever I worked at the Bash, I never touched one compact car going to the Bash for cash.
That's probably a good idea. Good theory.
My nephew PJ is running my team show in September, and he's asked me, he said, "Are you going to come over after Bash and help me?" I said, "Absolutely not. You know my rule. I will not touch your car, and you'll follow the same rules as everyone else. If not, you can load your car up and watch from the stands and go back to the house."
Vince Livius has tabbed Nick King to come out and help tech cars at the River City Rampage coming up this weekend in Henry, Illinois. So Nick's getting ready to roll out Thursday to make it out there to powwow with the rest of the tech staff as he gets ready for that. And then you hit on the other topic that I wanted to talk with you about. You've got your Derby coming up in September. What are some of the details on that?
It's a three-man compact Southern Ohio Compact Nationals. Iron City Promotions is putting it on. $12,000 to win first, $6,000 to win for second, and $3,000 to win. It's the highest paying compact derby in the nation. There's not another compact derby that pays $12,000 in the nation that we know of. Mm-hmm. I think we're missing 4 teams, and so we're taking 20. So I think we got 16 teams or something like that, 15. I think more teams will sign up after the Bash. They're waiting to see how that goes.
Yep.
Because it's very, very similar rules. We got street stock compacts, and then we got semi-stock. So the main event is the compacts. I feel there needs to be a derby out there just for compacts. I mean, you guys got Mini Meltdown up there, which is awesome. You guys are having a great show up there in New York for that, and we feel there needs to be another one, and this is going to be it.
Impact up in Canada was doing a lot with the mini car stuff, but that's sort of fallen off now with those guys getting out of it. So it is nice to see another one gaining traction. The Compact Championship at at Bash for Cash pays $10,000 to win, and I'm not sure what the Team Derby in November pays for the compacts, but
$10,000.
It's 10. So I mean, that's 10 divided by 4 versus this is 12 divided by 3. $4,000 a person to wad up alumina in Ohio.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, and you can probably run it for another 4 years afterwards.
Ohio built.
That's now that's the. I'm trying. You had a show before. Is this the same one?
No, I put on a little show at home. It was just a street stock derby.
Oh, okay. All right,
it was just something, a local guy, he has a track, kind of like a race park, and it was a street stock, kind of like bring your cars from your fair style show, and just a fun one, nothing big.
You excited or what for Derby season to kick off? It's been a little bit of distance between your last Derby and where you're at right now, getting ready for River City Rampage, and you're going to come out of the blocks here over the next couple of weeks with a couple big shows, and then you get to travel a little bit and get ready for yours in September.
I'm excited. My wife's not too excited because I'm also going to May Mania. So,
what are you doing at May Mania?
Inspecting.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
I
got Illinois this weekend, May Mania the following weekend, Florida vacation, then Bash, and then whatever else. Then it's county fair time.
You running a lot this summer as well?
No, I'm going to run my fair. My nephew's going to run at my fair, so I'm going to try to get him into it a little bit. He's 13,
nice.
So I'm going to let him run at my fair, and I'm going to run a few fair shows. And I'm trying to slide up to Mini Meltdown in June if I can. I'm trying.
When I was talking to Josh earlier today, he had said that maybe Nick was going to be making the trip out to May Mania, but he didn't know if that had been inked into, put into stone as of yet. So I was kind of just waiting to see if he brought it up because I didn't want to look dumber. But
I don't know if anyone else knows, but I'm not out there. No one knows who I am, so I don't think it's that big a deal.
It's easier that way. Then you don't have any friends to worry about hurting their feelings, like what you did to your buddy there over at Bash for Cash.
I bet the Shelleys and all that, but no one else out there, I think, knows who I am, so I don't know if it really matters.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
That's very cool. So we've got River City Rampage again. Toast overseeing that one. Henry, Illinois.
Oh, and also, I just want to give a shout-out to Toast. I'm not saying this is not my decision, but when I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning to get a glass of Mountain Dew, I seen all the havoc on Facebook and all that negative talk, and I instantly wrote toast at 4 o'clock in the morning and said, right now would be a good time to have the Icon feature at River City Rampage. So I'm pretty sure we're having the Icon feature at River City Rampage.
Oh, nice. That'll be cool. River City.
I text him that, but he gets all the credit because he made it happen. So I
Sure.
texted him at like 4 o'clock in the morning and said, right now would be a good time, and I'm pretty sure we're having. I don't know if it's going to be at the team event or if it's going to be singles. And if you was at the Icon show, you bring your car. But I'm pretty sure we're having it. I think he set it up today. I think I'm not sure the payout. Couldn't tell you anything like that, but he's giving them guys that opportunity to travel up to Henry and run their cars. So
Awesome. River City Rampage, a 2-day show at the Marshall Putnam Fairgrounds in Henry, Illinois. Friday the 3rd, 5:30 start time, Central Time on Friday night for all of the qualifying action, limited weld, stock, compact classes, all part of that. Total purse advertised at $29,000. And then day 2 starts at 3:30 Central Time, Saturday, May the 4th. Again, River City Rampage, Friday and Saturday, Marshall Putnam Fairgrounds in Henry, Illinois. Awesome. It's going to be online again, DerbyNation.tv. Nick, is there anybody that you wanted to make mention of that's helping make all this possible?
Iron City Promotion, the Ciopas, they're making everything that I want to make possible with the compact show. Toast, on our show, and he's doing a lot for Derby, and Johnny for flying me out there to Utah, having me come out to Utah, and just anyone else, you guys for doing this every week, die hard at this. It's awesome that you guys do this. I try to catch it every week. If I'm not busy about it, I'll listen, at some point. And then, just everything else. And a shout-out to Derby Icons, too, for their mishap this weekend. But I think he'll figure it out and make it be a success for him. So
He'll get there. All in time. We appreciate you coming on the show. Safe travels, of course, and hopefully everything goes smooth for you this weekend. And keep us posted as you go through the summer and between teching all over the country and building cars and running a little bit of your hometown fairs. Let us know how things are going.
All right, I will, man. Thank you.
We'll see you later.
Have a good one.
Bye.
There goes Nick King. I didn't realize he had as much going as he did. I talked with JC Mollis a little bit earlier today. Needs to get a hold of Nick and find out more about the September show, that team compact deal that's going on. Then I talked with Josh this afternoon when I got out of school, and he said, I think Nick's coming out for May Mania. You'll have to find out what he says. And then on top of that, obviously he's working with River City Rampage, so he's going to be busy.
It's busy dude.
For sure. So, here we go.
Can we pay some bills?
Yeah, we should probably do that. I found the schedule you were telling me about. We'll be able to go through that in a moment. Bash for Cash coming up May 24th through the 26th, 2019 at the Ross County Fairgrounds in Chillicothe, Ohio. The Near Big Rock Kicker class paying $11,000 to win. The DerbyTees.com Turn Back the Clock class paying $12,000 to win. The DEC Headers Compacts paying $10,000 to win. And that new 80s and newer Pro Stock class paying $7,000 to win. Each of the one and dones are going to pay $2,000 to win as well. The Relic class, which is 1959 cars and older, are going to be going for $2,000 to win, along with the Frank the Tank Old School Wire class. It's basically the 70s cars, the 80s Wire class. All of those are going to be fun to watch. The full-size trucks, youth compacts, compact trucks, and the street stocks. Online for more details, smashitderby.com. And your schedule, as we promised, a little bit of information along those lines. Again, Bash for Cash, 24th through the 26th, 2019. Friday night is the compact heats. They start at 7 o'clock. Saturday, May the 25th, at 3 o'clock is the compact consi. The Power Wheels are going off at 4. At 5 o'clock, the Turn Back the Clock and Kicker heats are on the schedule. Sunday is the all-day event. Sunday, May the 25th, 11 o'clock is the Turn Back the Clock and the Kicker class consolations. 1 o'clock is all the one-and-dones. And then projected at 4:30 is the start for each of the 3 main features. So we'll be watching close with those.
Different one than I saw. The one I saw had some of the one-and-dones on Saturday night.
Oh. I copied it off of Tim's post.
Oh, well, I guess he'd be the one to know then.
Trust me, there's enough people watching. where they'll let us know where we mess up, right?
Okay.
Right?
Absolutely.
I almost cut to. We didn't want to do that. So we're going to get Chad Markley on the phone now to talk a little bit about...
This is the Chad Markley.
The Chad Markley, yes. The Chad Markley. He's going to be joining us to talk a little bit about King of the Ring, which is coming up here in just a few weeks in York, Nebraska. Chad's always fun to talk to.
Yeah, good dude.
King of the Ring is a fun derby, too. We talked with some of the folks from Crash Fest Express. I think it was last year or the year before, and they basically have 60 cars, and they run it down, and then halfway through they clear the track and let the final 30 go.
That's
Hey, Chad, can I put you in? Remember talking to them?
Yeah.
All right, well, we got Chad on the line. Chad, how are you?
Good, very good.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show and hanging out with us for a little while. How's everything going? The King of the Ring Derby, it's coming up just about 2 weeks away.
It's building up pretty good. A lot of calls on rules. We tried to make them as clear as possible. So not a lot, but a few questions. What we wanted and what we expect. So hell of a group of drivers coming.
I liked what you were doing on the Facebook page, going state by state and talking about where all the drivers are coming from. And man, what an entry list that you've got just off of just looking at the number of states that are represented.
Yeah, I was pretty honored that a lot of those guys come on board and want to come down and run that format and run that type of build.
What do we got here? Oh, got caught a little bit off guard by some of the stuff that was coming in to us through Facebook. The King of the Ring event itself, is that the same format that it has been before, where it's essentially a one and done and then you stop it and clear the track off?
Yeah, I took this event over from Matt Newcomb. This would have been the fourth year consecutive. Last year, things got
right
where they didn't have it. So it's a format where 55 cars start at once. We go down to 25. They basically get a pit stop. They get 1 hour to work on their car this year. Time stops then, and then we go back and finish it off.
That sounds awesome.
Isn't it?
That sounds really cool.
So, I mean, and some of those guys were doing some yeoman's work in the pit in that hour, doing, shifting and changing. The 25 that are remaining on track are the only ones that can make repairs, correct? If you're 32nd, you don't get to fix anything and come back.
Well, this year I threw a twist in there. I'm taking the first group that are out first, and they're going to get to run a small consi, and the top 5 will transfer in because we've got guys traveling from such a distance. Back in the good old days of Dent, it was a one and done, and it just wasn't much fun when you traveled 12 to 14 hours and something small would happen and you wouldn't get that second chance. So we're going to have a second chance conti basically and take the top 5 out of 25 there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a good move. Give those guys another chance at the money. Taking it over, the shows continue to grow. What kind of effects did you guys experience with King of the Ring with the show not happening last year?
The Nebraska entries were down. I was a little surprised on that. But the out-of-staters definitely picked it up. There's, as you see on the online post, there's good groups from every state coming, so it's really going to be, not that they're better drivers or anything, but the show will be better because of it, because it won't be like a county fair. You're actually getting to run against people you normally don't get to run against, and it shouldn't get quite as groupy as it would if we had 30 Nebraska guys.
In terms of the build specs, has that changed at all since you have taken it over? You're a guy that's not afraid of the welding torch. The welding and torches.
We did. We changed the build a little bit. It's always been a limited weld type of show, but I didn't want to. The start of it, we was thinking about the unified Nebraska rules.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going back to interpretation. So we basically put together a set of rules using pieces and parts of theirs, so cars could go compete elsewhere if needed. if the show was over and they had car left.
You know, we were talking with Nick King about a couple of different things in terms of the black and white process to inspection versus making sure all the cars get to the track as equals. And then we also talked about the role of the officials in terms of pushing the pace. How hands-on are you in the tech process and the flagging process of what's going to happen coming up here on the 18th at King of the Ring?
100% in both. I will make 100% of the final calls under the lift, and I will make 100% of the calls on track.
So, you know, coming again back to those two main points of the different but equal, so that everybody gets on the track and the cars are equal based on what they've built themselves like, versus the black and white interpretation of the rules. Where do you come from? I mean, you've been on both sides of this argument as a promoter and as a builder, and trying to get things through so that you've got the best possible piece under you in some of the highest stakes derbies that are out there. What's your take in terms of the rule interpretation and inspections?
There should be very little interpretation. It should be black and white. Mm-hmm. I go to places knowing where I'm going and knowing if creativity's what they want and allow. That is not what I want, and that is not what I allow.
That sounds like a way to get away from marathon inspection sessions.
Sure does, doesn't it?
Hey, once their car hits the ground, we sign the sheet on top. They have exactly 1 hour to be back in inspection line. If they're not in the inspection line in 1 hour, they don't even get a chance to cut.
I like that idea.
That takes care of that part. Now, how about the stuff that's on track? I mean, I know you've been around Demolition Derby enough to know how fast information gets through the grapevine. Coming back to that unfortunate circumstances that happened with Spring Explosion here this weekend. You've been a driver out there that's been in a situation where you got to take your time. You've been a driver where you've been out there laying the hammers, and then obviously you've been an official. So what do you do in terms of making sure that the pace stays up and the shows don't turn into marathons?
I could make a lot of money if I had that magic answer. The phone wouldn't quit ringing. So, you know, as a driver, you do what you feel like the official allows, and you do what you feel like the other people in the arena are doing. It's very tough to get on that pace and know how fast it's going. That separates a lot of people, but you've got to set the pace of them shows early if that's your goal.
Right.
With the drivers coming, they understand it needs to be aggressive, and with as many groups and everything, they're going to have to be aggressive or they're going to get taken out. It's not going to be a Blizzard Bash pace because it ain't that type of car,
right. But
it's also not a stock car. I feel like I gave them enough car. If they want to take a arena shot going in reverse, they can ruin somebody's day. I mean, you know, in a bone stock, you don't feel like you can ruin anybody's day but your own when you get out there and start hitting.
True. Very true.
Interesting. You going to do any driving this summer?
Yeah, we do have Mayhem slated yet. I haven't entered or nothing, but I definitely usually never try to miss that unless something major comes up, and then shortly after that, it'll be time to start on Blizzard Bash cars for that build.
Can we go out on a limb and think that you might be building a wagon for Blizzard Bash?
There's a slight chance.
We were hoping to see at Capital City Carnage with a wagon this year, but we didn't see you out there, unfortunately.
No, it's just, you know, year after year, because as soon as you're done with Blizzard, you've got to start on that Capital car.
Yeah.
And there is very seldom there's other things that happen in my life besides the Derby, but there was just, I needed a break.
Yeah, I understand. Now
you gotta let those GM wagons come to full fruit before you pick them off the tree. If you pick them off too early, they're not as hard in the back.
Yeah, that's true. Chad, we touched on you have driven in a lot of derbies over the years, a lot of the big derbies. What pace do you prefer as a driver? I mean, do you prefer to go out and make the surgical hits, or I mean, because we've seen you do both, like Chris mentioned. I mean, we've seen you use the frame rails at Capital City Carnage and just knock guys' tires off all night. But I mean, we've also seen you at Blizzard Bash where you've had to turn it up and make some big shots. What, as a driver, obviously you can adapt and go either way. But which do you prefer?
Well, there's a big difference between taking your time and making the shot that counts, and then rubbing and not making shots. So. I prefer any pace as long as everybody's on the same pace, and the refs leave you alone if everybody's on the same pace.
That makes sense.
I don't care. I mean, I don't care what it is really. I mean, I can slow down with the best of them, and I can speed up with the best of them, and it's fun either way. But there is no fun in the 3-hour feature. Some of the boringest times of my life was riding 3 hours in Mayhem features. I mean, nothing against what happened, just that's what the heats are, what to watch at Mayhem, and the features slow down, and they are what they are. So I don't have the answer how to speed a show like Mayhem up in the bone stock configuration. I don't know that there is one. I mean, do I wish it was faster pace? Yeah. Am I going to be a guy that sticks my neck out and speeds the pace up? No.
We've touched on it. I mean, we're all Derby fans, and I mean, it's like I said 100 times, it's fun to watch the big hits and the stuff being. But I mean, I also can, like I said, I've enjoyed watching you and Bobby Brockway battle at Blizzard Bash a couple of years ago, and that was great to watch. To sit there and watch two guys of your guys' talent just go at each other. That was a great show. It wasn't, you guys weren't running halfway across the arena to hit each other, but you were locked up and you were battling, and every shot was counting, and that was cool to watch. So, Derby fans are very fickle. And
right. To me, that's a little more of a challenge than going out there and going wide open. Not, giving it enough that you take the better shot to punish the opponent's car worse than it's going to hurt your car. That's the whole idea of the whole ball game. I mean, you want to do minimal damage to yourself and maximum to theirs. So you just wait for them to make that mistake, and whether it takes you 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get that one shot, I like that kind of pace better, as long as everybody's taking them shots to physically take a car out.
Yeah.
Now, if it's just rubbing, then no, I don't like that at all.
Well, I went out to Mental Mayhem in 2010, and like you said, the heats were awesome. I mean, that was year like Troy Tagg and like 8 or 9 other guys from Florida or California came out bringing a bunch of old Fords, and Toby was there with a bubble Ford, and Chad was. I think Chad was there.
And in a wagon.
Yep, in a wagon. Hard to believe. And the heats were very intense, and then the feature was like a 2.5 or just under 3 hour feature. But I wasn't gonna you can't condemn the guy that runs that speed, because there's a lot of money on the track. There's a lot of money, so it's, I don't know, it's tough. We touched on it earlier, and I don't know if there is an answer. I mean, I guess if people really want to, they can, build cars and go out on the track and change tempos. I mean, we've heard a lot of guys.
That's the main thing. It's never the guy on the track really complaining about it.
You're right.
And I understand we need people in the seats, and we always want to see as many fans at every Derby as possible. But for every fan that likes that big hit, there's the fan that likes the chess match between the veteran drivers, or the young driver that wants to get tied into a veteran driver. I didn't see anybody leave at Blizzard Bash when we come down to Bob Whitaker and Kurt Gegg when it took 15 minutes to get the winner. Nobody got up out of their seats to leave that. So neither of them had steering.
Yeah, right. And that's exactly it. I mean, we've touched on that a bunch. I mean, that's you have to.
Eric Blum, Justin Montgomery, and Trey Ewer.
Yeah,
at Capital City Carnage a couple
they
years
ran
ago.
a long time without steering.
Nobody had steering. Those were swing and a miss hits.
Yeah, they were, and that's the thing. I mean, that's you got to. I mean, because that's the we've touched on that too. Is that most of these big derbies, one of the big name drivers, and you can you can judge your own fan or whoever you're cheering for is a big name driver, but somebody always loses steering early. And then they go on for 45 minutes or an hour with no steering, and are right down there. We've seen it. Yeah, we've seen it happen to Chad at Blizzard Bash. Yeah. We've seen it happen to Whitaker. We've seen it happen to Ingram. We've seen it happen to all these guys. And to watch these guys not only continue make qualifying hits, but make good hits with no steering is insane. I mean, I lose. I'm nobody, but if I lose the steering on my Derby car, I'm sitting there hating the world. Swearing, screaming. Doesn't slow these guys down. I mean, you get somewhere. You got to give the driver some some leeway and some compliments. But it's like everybody pays the tickets and pays for the ticket. And really, I mean, in my humble opinion, the only ones that really have a bitch from Capital City or from Spring MX are the fans that were there or the fans that paid for the pay-per-view. Other than that, nobody else has really got a reason to bitch. If you didn't spend your hard-earned money to get into that show or to watch that show, then you don't really have a leg to stand on. In my humble opinion, you don't have a leg to stand on the bitch. But it is what it is.
No, I would agree. I mean, I didn't watch much show. I heard some feedback here and there, and it's a struggle. And to get control of a arena, it's tough to do. I mean, like I said, I don't have the answer.
No.
I'm planning on not having that problem at King of the Ring, but that's my plan, not the driver's plan.
Very true.
Good point.
Chad, we've talked before a bunch of times, and obviously we know that your car of choice is the GM clamshell wagon. Here's a question: when do you remember when guys started sedagging the wagons? When, like, what year was that? Do you remember?
That I've been doing it for a long time, but I think if you look clear back to some of the first mayhems, I think possibly Ziz did it clear back in whatever year that was. He had one that had the roof pushed down, and it might have spun off from that, but I had some that tore up, and we just started doing it, probably 2000 or better.
Gotcha.
At county fair level. So
yeah, I just it's just something like obviously around here. I mean, we didn't see a lot of Chevy wagons wrecked. I mean, Mark and Harold would always seemed like they always had one for Waterloo, and they wouldn't get hurt enough to have to sedaggen them there. But as
never cracked the lenses.
Yeah, as the Derby and world got smaller, we started we started seeing guys that were sedagging, and I just wondered. Now that you mention it, I remember Ziz winning with a sedagging out there.
Yeah.
And, but hadn't he sedaggened it before, though? Like, he came there with a sedagging, didn't he?
Well, somewhere in about 98, I had one that was a little questionable in the back that we sedaggened before a show. They weren't going to let me run because they swore it was an El Camino, and they finally let me in. And, I think, I'm not for sure on his if he did it pre or not, but...
yeah, because that was on... That was on like the Discovery Channel or something like that. They were. Yeah, it was still the original promoter of Mayhem, and I remember because Wayne
Charlie Perrine.
Yeah, because Wayne Clements had made the feature that year from New York.
Oh, okay, sure.
And there were some other guys on there, and I remember it came down to Ziz, and then they had him up on the lift afterwards, and he was like cutting his shocks or something. But yeah, I wondered. Obviously nobody better than Chad to ask about sedagging and wagons, so that's.
Well, you said that. You believe that Chad's preferred car was the wagon, but you've had some good luck in mid-'90s Lincolns too, haven't you?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, before the rules got totally out of control at Blizzard, I was running Square HDs and having good luck with them. Right. I think the year I beat Jimmy, we come down to 3-on-1, and I ended up beating him. I was in a Square HD.
Isn't that a great feeling to beat Jimmy Johnson?
It's pretty good. I don't let him forget it.
Well, Chad's a pretty humble guy, but he may not like this, but Chad could be pretty successful at anything. If it's got a motor and 4 wheels, probably Chad's going to win it. So, but we've the last few years he's been pretty dangerous with them Chevy wagons, and That's always fun to watch.
I meant to ask. I meant to ask earlier, and I forgot to. Do you wear the white gloves when you flag?
Sometimes depends how cold it
is. Awesome.
Now is we know you're doing some promoting and Ben Ben doing it. Is this something to where you're gonna kind of continue transitioning and eventually give up the steering wheel and just go to promoting, or haven't you thought that far ahead?
The bigger the shows we get into, the tougher it's going to be to balance, and the tougher it's going to be. So many of them guys on that list are, absolutely friends, and it's going to be tough to get back in to flag them and inspect their car and then get back in the arena against them or with them. It's going to get to the point where I'm going to have to make a decision.
Yeah, it's got to be fun though. I mean, you guys, we've touched on it. I mean, there's a group of drivers that are always near the top, no matter what the show is when they're there. Big money shows, and it's got to be kind of cool when you guys get out there and kind of see each other, and it gets back to the same derby you've been doing for years, where it's I'm squaring off with this guy again, and this guy's squaring off with that guy again. I mean, it's got to be pretty neat to get out there and just to be so evenly matched and against such other good drivers. It's got to be fun to battle with those guys.
No, it is great fun. I mean, most of the time you don't have a deal with anybody, or at least I don't. And you look around, that's top 5 time, and okay. Well, I don't know how this is going to go, and yeah, we'll be fine for a while, or kind of if there's a couple of them a little tighter than others, the other 3 might start working on them too. I mean, and it switches every derby, and there's no hard feelings, and you laugh about it when it's over and shake hands, and well, maybe it'll be my turn next time, and you never know. You always, unfortunately, in today's world, you always go to a derby with 2 or 3 people you can trust to the end, and at the level of competition, that usually very seldom ever works out that you are the guys at the end. So you got to make your friends along the way, and then be smart enough in the arena to see who's working together, so you can work with somebody that you normally don't work with, or else it's going to be 3-on-1 at the end.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that. Them team shows, they are literally team shows. It's all funny how it works out in the end, but it's always great and fun to watch all you guys put on that show, and hopefully we'll be checking it out again soon.
Chad, man, is there anybody that you want to make mention of that helps make King of the Ring happen, or any of the efforts that you guys do at Blizzard Bash at the end of the year?
King of the Ring, I wouldn't be in this position without Matt Newcomb's help. I kept him aboard. He wanted to get totally out, and I didn't think that was right. He wanted to be done, and I know he really likes that show. So we kept him involved. Everybody at Blizzard's great. It's been fun to run there. Everybody works on the card shop. You name it. It's endless. I mean, you have 3 months, 4 months of doing nothing but working on that darn car, and then it's pretty much day in and day out. So, you can't even start thanking everybody, but all the guys at the shop know who they are. So
awesome.
Very cool.
Well, man, let us know how everything goes with King of the Ring, and keep in touch as you work through the summer. We look forward to seeing you. If not before, we look forward to seeing you when we get to Topeka in November.
Yeah, maybe after it's over, we'll get the winner of the King of the Ring on here to get some new blood on here for you.
Sounds good to me. We'll do that.
All righty.
Awesome, Chad. I appreciate you coming on, man. We'll see you soon.
All right, see you guys.
See you now. Chad Markley. Again, the King of the Ring is going to be May the 18th in York, Nebraska. Brian Rose just checked in, and he's in eastern Ohio. And he said that he sedagged a wagon in 1995, and he knew that he saw it before that.
Cool.
So, there you go.
Very cool.
There's some information there.
That's just one of those things. Like, we've seen them, and it's kind of become commonplace now. And it's almost, like there wasn't as many sedagging at Carnage this year. So, it's kind of back and forth. But
and there's a couple different ways of doing the Sedagan thing too.
Yeah.
And I can't remember ever, just because it's a wagon, and I know this isn't going to be the most popular line of conversation here, but I don't know if I ever remember seeing a Mopar wagon getting Sedaganed.
I've seen it, but the thing with Mopars is the roof line is what keeps the springs.
If you do it right,
yeah,
the roof line should stay straight, and the rear rails and leaf springs should push up to it. Mm-hmm. And if you do it really, really wrong, that window opens up like a drainage culvert.
Yeah.
And it billows out all sorts of weird ways.
And it pulls your rear end out, and then you said or it flattens and the whole thing goes up, and then the nose comes up and it looks like a banana. Mm-hmm. You can see those box Ford wagons will do the same thing, where that window opens up and the window the roof billows up. Yeah.
Over the top as the quarter.
A few years ago, the Gaskins, Matt and his dad they had some work on. They did a bunch of work on some of the square wagons, and they had them figured out pretty well. I remember some of the shows. I think some of the Total Destruction, maybe some of Kenny Schwingel's shows. They had some Ford wagons that held up really well and were pretty tough. It's just neat. We've touched on it, and it's neat to see the next step.
One of my favorite wagons, in terms of the box Ford wagons, was at Hartford. Jason Bellis.
Yep.
He drove a pile of those things, and those back ends always bent perfect. And
Jason Bellis, there's a name I haven't heard in a while.
From Candor, New York. He just had a birthday here recently.
Yeah, he's a good builder and driver.
Yep. Big
Kinda
into
got out
wrestling,
of it.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, like NCAA Olympic wrestling, not like hairspray and body oil.
Yeah. Did you see any of Jerry McGully's posts from this weekend?
No.
His youngest daughter, Kylie, wanted to be dropped off at prom in a derby car.
Okay. Yes.
Jeremy,
they're actually doing their. They just went live. They're doing all of their.
Jeremy unfortunately wasn't able to get his truck going, so he borrowed a derby car, one that had been painted up by Hippie, so it looked amazing. And they unloaded it, and he drove Kylie up, and she got off she was kind of sitting on the cowl area, and she got off and went around and got a picture with her dad and went into her prom.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That was very cool.
Awesome.
So that was kind of neat. That was the first time I'd seen that.
Very cool. Awesome. Oh, man. It was a busy show.
Where did the hour go?
I know, that went by fast.
Where did that hour go?
Way faster than I was expecting it to. It was a good one, though. I mean, we had a lot of stuff to get to, and I hope all of the folks that are tuning in on Facebook and following along with the conversation can appreciate the different perspectives and stuff. And again, we tried to get, I don't know, for lack of a better way to explain it, I guess we got in the middle of it one time when there was some of those things that were happening. It didn't go well, so we chose to sort of offer our perspective, and I guess the best way to do it is to try three things: educate yourself, stick to facts, and draw your own opinions. And then on top of that, go to DerbyNation.tv and check out River City Rampage this weekend, and make sure on May 18th you get out there and you support King of the Ring.
On a side note, though, that show that you're kind of talking about, yet going in circles around, we did have a lot of viewers on that sucker.
We did. Oh man, did we ever? There's been two times where we thought, if we want to be independent and hard news focused, we got to try this. The first time it didn't work. The second time it didn't work either. So the first time, instead of being an anomaly, turned out that there was a consistency. So we just kind of chose to stay out of all that. By all means, we'll cap it at this. And then we're going to get out of here, putting a fork in episode number 272. Thanks a lot for everybody that's watching. If, in fact, Jack from Derby Icons is interested in some time, the door is open. Mm-hmm. If not, and he wants to put this behind him, we wish him the best, and hopefully things go well at Metal Mayhem. Next week, Josh is going to be making the trip up. We're going to be talking a little bit about all the ins and outs that he's going to be involved with. We're going to have some conversation about May Mania. We're going to be talking a little bit about Mini Meltdown, Spinning Wheels. They're doing that extreme pull right now. So we'll be seeing him, and he may or may not be bringing friends. I don't know if Jeremy and Josh Buell are going to be making the trip up with him or not. I know they were going to be talking about it tonight, and he was going to
Josh Buell won't. He hates everything.
I think actually he works Mondays. He's not on suspension right now, so he's going to be
going into work.
Yeah, I think he actually has to go in. Yeah, so I don't know if we would see him anyway, but it would be good to see Jeremy. So next week again, we're going to have those guys on Spinning Wheels to talk about that stuff, and I did put a message out to Jason Sherman because we're about a month away from Road Rage.
Cool.
If you can believe that.
Doesn't slow down, that's for sure.
It does not slow down. That's going to do it for us here at the North Park Building at Academy Square. We appreciate all the folks tuning in, hanging out with us for this one. That's going to do it. We'll see everybody next week for 273. That's going to do it for 272, the Crash Course. See you then.
The Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.